Welcome to another episode of Stockport Grammar School Talk Sport. Today's guest is Perth born. He started his career as a 10-year-old as a professional dancer, taking him around the world to compete and coach, from England to Hong Kong to Singapore to America, to name a few. He starred in the series Dancing with the Stars in Australia and Strictly Come Dancing in the UK. He even finds time now to develop the next generation of dancers with his company, Move for Life. Welcome aboard, Josh Keefe. How are you doing?
Woo! Yeah, good. Thanks, Danny. I'm very good in little old Hong Kong here. Everything is closed. Going home at 6 o'clock.
Right, we'll get cracking then, Paul. So the first question really is just talk a little bit about your background and your journey to where you are today.
Right. So it's quite interesting when I kind of look back at how I started as a kid, because I wasn't very interested in anything, to be honest, as a kid. I was quite shy. I was scared of most things, including myself a bit. And so my mum put me into lots of different sports and things like that, and nothing really clicked. I kind of didn't really enjoy anything, and then through school we started these dance classes, and I didn't really think too much of it. I just kind of went along with it, and then I started to enjoy it. And one of the kids in my year group said, "Come along to a dance class." And I was like, yeah, sure. Just being a total flaky, 9, 10-year-old. I was like, yeah, sure. Didn't even tell my mum for like a month. And I ended up going to one of these classes, and it's not like I kind of went, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing ever. I just kind of thought, you know what? I don't hate this. I don't dislike it. It's kind of up there with food. Let's just kind of keep it going. And I wasn't a kid that was academic. I was definitely not sporty, and I just kind of plodded along and just did it for a while. And I wasn't even great at it when I first started. So I kind of just kept on plodding along, and I thought, you know what, I like this. There's something about it that it keeps on drawing me back every week, and it was so natural and gradual. I didn't even realize, and to this day, I don't consider myself a dancer. I just went towards where I was gravitating. I felt a bit of a pull, and I thought, this is really interesting. I like this, and I started to get more of a taste for it as I went on. And then my mum approached my mum and said, "Oh, would your son like to dance with my daughter and do competitions?" And my mum was kind of like, "Well, that sounds random. Yeah, let's do it." So I went and did that. And again, I was fairly average. I was okay, but the thing is, I just really enjoyed it. There was something in it that I started to kind of go, you know what, I like this. I wonder if I could be better at it. And I played with the thought for a few years. But, also being young, you don't really in Australia. I kind of didn't really care, and I didn't really think it would go anywhere anyway. And then I finally got the balls one day to actually give it a full crack at one of the competitions. And I thought, you know what? Because everyone was like, oh, and this is dancing, right? And I'm a really shy kid, and you're wearing all these costumes already, and it's already a lot for a child. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to try facial expressions today. I'm going to try smiling and maybe just see what naturally happens. And I remember doing it, and it was like a jive, because I was in one of the lower grades where you need to get like 1 or 2 dancers. And so I did it. And as I came off the floor, my coach at the time, who I was not very nice to because I was just a difficult child, I was like, oh, whatever, I'll do whatever I want. He was like, that was really good. I'm like, was it? Like, are you sure? And I watched the video back, and I was like, oh, it just looks like it's got more energy or something. So I was like, I think I'll try a little bit harder at that. And then I ended up changing coaches along the way. And I got a coach that just cracked the whip. I got a couple of coaches actually that just cracked the whip. And because I love dancing so much, I was up for it. And I was like, you know what? I wonder if I can go a little bit harder at this. And I started to kind of push a little bit harder. And we're talking like, from 10 now, we're talking about 15, 14, 15 into 16. And I really started to listen to my coaches and go, okay, you know what? I'm gonna work hard. They seem to be interested. They seem to think that there's something there. I'm gonna absolutely have a crack at this. And I did that, and and then I ended up being the Australian champion at about, I think, 15, 14 or 15 in the under 16s. And I was like, oh, that must be right. And then it just got more and more and more from there. I kept on listening and I kept on taking the advice, and I accepted that, okay, I wasn't good now, or what I thought was good. But I will definitely keep on chipping away at it. I'll keep on going to training. I'll be consistent because I loved it, and I'll take on their advice, and I'll work harder and harder and harder. And then the results just got better and better and better. And by the time I was 17, I was third in the under 21s within the world. Um, so it was, and then from there it kept on going, and I got a taste for it, and I was like, okay, this is it. I'm a dancer. Sorry, mum, I'm not going to business school anymore. It's not happening. I am a dancer. I apologize now for all the worries that I have in the future financially, but I am a dancer. So yeah.
No, amazing. And then just touch upon that comment there. You said you still don't see yourself as a professional dancer. Why is that? After obviously winning the Australian one and finished third in the world and traveling the world now and doing that, why do you still not see yourself as that dancer?
I think it's because my bar is so high,
Yeah,
and also because I think there's a few stereotypes that come with dancers, and there are those people that kind of walk around with their work or with their achievements kind of on their shoulders, and like, as part of them are going like, well, I'm a dancer and I did this and this and this,
yeah,
and I won't tell you until you ask me.
yeah,
Because I think that's just the way I was brought up. My family is
yeah,
quite humble, and also I don't know. I also physically don't look like a dancer. I'm probably more physically adapted to sport and rugby because I'm thick. I look like a sausage in pants, for God's sake. Um, but I'm not. Yeah, I'm just not physically equipped to be a dancer. They have, thinner, longer legs. They have like more of a stomach. But I think because I worked quite hard and my body was talented for the type of movement, it kind
yeah.
of, yeah. So it's almost like I try and hide behind something. I, yeah, I just don't relate to it sometimes. But I'm a dancer, and I'm fairly efficient at it.
Yeah.
And I love it. I absolutely love it. It's absolutely everything for me. Dancing is every answer that I ever need.
Yeah, and then just trying to get into that sort of mindset. When you go out there to compete, or when you're teaching about dancing, what are you feeling for your body? What's going through your head when you step onto that dance floor?
So it's interesting. I find the world very complex, and I find that there's lots of conflict, there's lots of challenges all the time from every single angle. But for me, the most peaceful, easy place in the whole world is in the middle of a dance floor, with music on and the lights on,
Yeah,
and that's where I'm just completely zen. That's where I'm like, whatever happens now, it's going
yeah,
to be amazing. Like, for some reason, it's just where I am completely happy. I think maybe because of my history there. But yeah, I'm just, and even if the dance doesn't go amazingly, I'm just like, well, doesn't matter. This is it. This is me. This is the core of me.
yeah. No, that's a great answer. No, good. And then what we're talking a little bit about is about high performance mindset, and obviously what you've done in your career to date, and which you will continue to do, is you've got a high performance mindset. Like, what does that mean to you? What does high performance mean to you?
High performance means so many things. It means staying focused, taking things day by day. So not getting too wrapped up in, I need to be there, or I need to be this good, or I'm good enough, or whatever. Well, that kind of stuff will come, but you need to have a very sometimes it's minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day focus on what it's going to take to actually get my head in the space. And for me, it would be get my body also in a space where I can achieve physically what I want. It's staying really grounded. It's getting rid of distractions around you that you don't need, especially if you're going into something that's really important. I like to to keep clear of lots of communication. I basically shut everyone out, and everyone knows that. Like, everyone close to me knows that they all get shut out when I need to focus on something quite important.
Yeah.
And just staying kind of level-headed and throwing darts. So a very famous choreographer, Kelly Abbey, taught me this in Australia. That when you're about to go into it, you don't want to overshoot your energy. You don't want to underplay your energy. You want to throw a dart. You want to be so centered and so accurate about what you're doing. You need to be deadly focused on everything you do to make sure that everything goes right, because you only get one shot. As soon as that music comes on, you're on time, you're in the right spot, you're doing the right things.
Yeah. No, that's a great answer. I love that. Good stuff. And then just talking a little bit about yourself now, and everyone has ups and downs on the career and on the journeys. What's your biggest setback professionally, and what did you do to overcome
that? Biggest setback? I've had loads.
Yeah.
there's so many along the way. It really is ups and downs all the time. There was I mean, so many competitions where I was out in the first 1 or 2 rounds, and then maybe a year later or a couple of years later, I was in the top 6 of those exact competitions. So I think you need to be realistic with yourself and just kind of say, well, actually, sometimes it's about luck.
Yeah.
In my industry, sometimes it was about luck. Sometimes it was political. Sometimes it's actually what you're doing. You're not good enough. And you need to know that that's also an answer that you have a solution to.
Yeah.
So if what you're doing isn't good enough, fix it. Find out exactly how to fix it. If it means that you need to work double the hours in order to be better than the next person, etc., well, that's what you're going to need to do. You then need to weigh out whether that's important enough for you and whether you want to achieve that. And get over yourself and get on with it. Do it.
Yeah, no, great advice there. And then on the flip side, you've had many accomplishments. Which one stands out for you that you're most proud of, and why?
Okay. I think in my competitive career, I would say probably winning the Rising Star in the UK Open.
Yeah.
As well as mixed with being in the top 10 of the world that year, just in general. That was pretty amazing for us. I think some of our highest results were 4th and 5th in some world championships. It was amazing, like absolutely amazing for a few years there. And then in TV land, I had an experience last year where I did Dancing with the Stars in Australia, and I got to dance with Courtney Act. And Courtney Act is a drag queen, also known as Shane Beck. And I think for me that was such an amazing personal experience, and we're still mates to this day. Like we chat every day. That was so enlightening for me. He opened up my mind to so many things, and I felt like I took the lid off a whole heap of things that were kind of floating around in my brain for a while, and he just made me so much better as a person. And it was the first time you had like a same-sex couple dance together in that atmosphere. It was huge. Like internationally, it was also huge. And that for me personally, I was just like, well, I'm really proud that younger kids can look up to us and go, actually, that's cool. That's fine. Like that was bottled and sold in a really classy way, and I can drink that.
Amazing. And then next question, we're talking about 3 non-negotiables. So what are your 3 non-negotiable behaviors that you'd expect from yourself or anybody else you come into contact with?
Okay. Firstly, kindness, I think is up there. I don't think there's enough of that in the world. Everyone's too concerned with themselves, and we should get over ourselves and be thinking about the person next to us a little bit more. Which then kind of goes into my second one, which is empathy, putting yourself in other people's shoes more often than what you do. And the third one, work hard. You probably don't work hard enough. Work harder.
Yeah. No,
I'm a big believer in what you sow. And my trainer told me, Michael Baker, as I was growing up, and he is basically my dad, my father figure, my trainer. He told me the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah.
And I believe in that 150%. And I've lived by that since I was 14 or 15, since I started with him. So, yes, those are my three.
That's going to definitely be the title of the podcast there. The harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah, 100%.
I like that. Love that. Good. And then last one for me then is basically, if you were to go back to a schoolboy, maybe a 12-year-old boy, back to school, what advice would you give yourself, knowing what you know now?
So much stuff. I'd be like, also invest in these things on the market. I would say to myself, definitely to be a little bit kinder to myself growing up about a few things, personal things. And also because when you're young, you judge yourself compared to what's around you. And Australia is a very amazing competitive land of sports and like science, and it's got everything. We've just got amazing people coming out of Australia, and I always compare myself to people that I probably shouldn't have. So be kinder to myself, but also probably to work harder from a younger age. I felt like, I suppose I did. What else would I have said? Don't get taken advantage of. Don't let people take advantage of you. Say how you feel a little bit more often, and then deal with the response from that. So rather than kind of just agree and kind of go along with people, kind of always have a little question in your head going, actually, is that the right thing that I'm being told, or is someone trying to pull the wool over my eyes? Can I be a little bit smarter about how I go about reacting to this? In whatever way. Like not being a mouthy kid and going like, no, I don't believe in that, but also kind of just going, actually, that doesn't sound right. There's something that doesn't sound right about that, and maybe I'm not old enough to know, but I'm going to flag it. I need to say something.
Cool. Great advice. And then actually, last one then for me is, what does the future hold for Josh Keith then?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, especially this year, right? I am hoping that TV Land opens up in the second half of this year. We all don't find out kind of what's happening until later in the year anyway. And I am hopeful that I head back over to the UK, but we'll see how we go with that. I can't promise anything, but we're definitely, my team and I are working really hard in Hong Kong and putting lots of stuff out online on our YouTube channels that are doing really, really well. And so, just kind of like just hitting the dancing online a bit more, and building that up, and Move for Life in Hong Kong in general, which is kind of, it was going really well up until Auntie Rona came to visit. And I feel like she's gonna go away soon, and we'll be back up there, and we'll be fine. And yeah.